This is your life. This, London's Phoenix Theatre. This, Operation Surprise for a delightful actress who in a few days' time will be appearing in the French farce Caught in the Act. And what more distinguished, what more accomplished co-conspirator could a man wish for than my debonair old friend Michael Dennison, believe it or not, making your 49th play in the West End.
That's right.
In the part of Judge Tricont, Your Honour, eh?
That's right, Tricont, and a very stuffy character I am, until the lovely lady who we're after, who plays a music hall artist, attempts to seduce me.
Oh, la la, as they say. Well, let's not hold back the action. Photocall inside. I'll be right behind you waiting for your signal. And by the way, West End actress though she be, she is in fact known to millions on television, but millions who do not know that her colourful story began in the last days of the Raj in India. Right, Michael? Let's hope I'm not caught in the act. Good evening, Mademoiselle Coubette, bearing a striking resemblance to Nicola Freeman of Crossroads Motel, don't you think? Forgive the unscripted intrusion on this particular play of yours, thanks to the judge himself, who gave me permission to say, actress Gabrielle Drake, tonight, this is your night. So, I wasn't quite caught in the act. Thank you, Michael.
My goodness, I was.
Good.
Well, Act 1, Scene 1, all set at Thames Studios. Your carriage awaits, my darling.
Yeah. Like this.
I think you were trying briefly to work out who was the extra part. You didn't spot me straight away.
I thought you had to be Monsieur Onnequin, who is the author of our play.
Well, I'm delighted to have co-starred, albeit briefly, in the West End with the marvellous Michael Dennison and, of course, the rest of the cast of Caught in the Act. Avril Elgar, Derek Smith, Trevor Cooper, Colin Proctor, Lisa Hollander, Una Kirsch, Margaret Morris, Jonathan Price and Anthony Erskine. Michael, I'm sure you're looking forward to a long West End run after being on tour with us.
Well, certainly, of course, we are, but for one extra and particular reason, Gabrielle is not only a pretty face, though she's a very pretty face, she is also a dedicated and skilled actress. And one illustration merely of her dedication, during the course of the production, she has been kissed in the path of duty 1,651 times, still counting and appearing to enjoy it.
Michael, how did you work that out?
Thinks about nothing else. Gabrielle Drake, this is your life. You were born a world away from London's West End, in wartime Lahore in India, in the twilight days of the British Raj. By the time you were a pretty 2-year-old, you'd moved with your family to Rangoon in Burma. Next stop was Bombay, an exotic route to fame, Gabrielle, and your most recent fame came 2 years ago when you took over at the Crossroads Motel in the role of manageress Nicola Freeman.
Have you come to a decision about your future yet?
No, not yet.
I wouldn't have thought, really, that Tommy had very much to offer somebody in your position.
My position?
I mean, after all you've had from MIH.
All that boardroom infighting?
No, I was really thinking of the material benefits.
Well, I've done without those before in my life.
Oops, sorry.
You're going to stay on, surely?
I think so. I'm not sure yet. But then our situations are so entirely different, aren't they?
Are they?
And here tonight, Adam Chance himself, your good friend Tony Adams. Tony Tony, I understand that Gabrielle Drake isn't only known as Nicola Freeman at the Crossroads Motel.
Yes, that is correct. When she first arrived at Crossroads, we were not allowed to see her. She was kept secreted away in the office. And we all felt a bit miffed by this, and I gave her a nickname. I called her Dora Duck. Gabrielle Drake, Dora Duck. And it's stuck. And she's been known to all of us very fondly, and we love her dearly as Dora.
And Tony calls my car the shopping bag on wheels.
And that's why, Gabrielle, although they cannot be here, if you look at that screen, we're taking a trip to the Crossroads Motel, first to join Paul Henry and Jane Rossington.
Congratulations, Gabrielle. Benny would like to say something.
Hello, Mrs. Foreman. You know, for the 2 years we did work together, I never once call you by your right name. So this is it. Hello, Mrs. Freeman. Did you like that, Gabrielle Duck?
Hello, Dora. Sorry we can't be with you, but you know what our schedule's like. Here we are. Perhaps they'll get to our scene in a minute, or will it be tomorrow, or maybe next week? You know what it's like.
Your assistant, Anne-Marie D. Hepburn.
Who are you talking to? It's Dora. She's on This Is Your Life.
Mrs. Freeman? Well, thank goodness for that. You've no idea how confused I've been lately. I mean, when you're Mrs. Freeman's personal secretary, and then they tell you she doesn't even work here anymore.
Have a super time tonight. Smashing party. Wish we could be with you, but got to learn the lines for next week.
All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone at the Crossroads Motel, and of course, Tony Adams. Well, Gabrielle, your home in real life couldn't be further removed from Crossroads Motel. In fact, it's a 12th century abbey in Shropshire Village, which you share with your artist husband, who, of course, is here tonight, Louis DeVette. She's been desperate separated from you, even so briefly, Louis, I can tell you. Louis,
where is he?
I know. It's 20 years since you two met. Was it a romantic meeting?
Not in the least, Damon. We had a mutual theatrical friend who brought her round one day, but unfortunately had given her such a build-up as a person that she expected to see some blonde Scandinavian giant. And took me for the servant when she came in and gave me her coat. It wasn't a very auspicious beginning.
Well, now, when you...
Went from better to better.
And when you were married on May the 18th, 1978, it really was the wedding of your dreams, and not only because of your beautiful bride, but you were determined it should be at one particular church.
Yes, indeed. I had some very many years, I'm ashamed to say how many, before I'd been cycling through Gloucestershire and Wiltshire, and I had come across this little church, which was once the centre of a village. But the village was decimated by the plague, and the people fled away, leaving the church by itself. It had been abandoned for very many years, occupied by Cromwell's soldiers. A great fresco within, and I swore to myself that one day, if ever I married, I'd marry there. And there was a difficulty. We had to qualify for it, and so we stayed in the whereabouts and met the most charming, delightful vicar, who became a very good friend and is always remembered by us.
And here tonight, that very same dear friend, the vicar who married you, the Reverend Colin McCarthy. Gabrielle, home for you and Louis these days is, as I mentioned, a 12th century abbey in Shropshire. Unusual enough, but there was something out of the ordinary about your very first home, the place where you were born.
Yes. It was the house that Dad built, wasn't it?
And you called it Packing Case Villa.
These days, their home is in Warwickshire, but right here tonight, your father and mother, Rodney and Molly. Rodney, your job as an engineer took you to India and Burma, but how did you come to live in what you call the Packing Case Villa?
Well, it was when I was taken out of the army and told to build a very big sawmill up in the Punjab. It had come over from the States, and there were over 100 enormous packing cases involved, and I decided to use these to build somewhere for us to live, which was a small point which had been overlooked by the authorities. And so this, doing this, including getting the mill going, took me exactly 9 months to build the mill and packing case villa, as she christened it.
It was completed in time, I gather, for Gabrielle's arrival.
Yes,
Precisely.
she meanwhile was spending the time producing her in the 9 months.
Let's look at packing case villa. Here it is, Gabrielle, the very first family home in the Punjab.
Good gracious.
When the family moved to Rangoon, you're joined by a baby brother, Nick, a talented musician and composer who, alas, died only aged 26, 12 years ago. From Rangoon, Molly, you moved to Bombay in 1949, and I believe it was there that Gabrielle showed her first interest in the stage.
Yes, Eamon, that's right. There was a charity show in which I was taking part and modelling a few cotton dresses, and I took Gabrielle along to have a look. And years later, she told me that this was the moment when it all started. She saw me up on that stage and she said, "That's where I want to be, up on that stage." On the subject of her birth, she wasn't exactly born in the proverbial trunk, but she was born in a packing case.
And as we can see here from this brief glimpse of home movie, Gabrielle, at a very early age, you certainly weren't camera shy. There's your mother and father at your home in Rangoon, and there you are with your father. In fact, when you lived in Rangoon, where your father was an engineer with the Bombay Burma Trading Corporation, your new home was rather smarter than Packing Case Villa. Here it is, an imposing mansion with sweeping lawns, and there you are in front of a group of family and friends. Your parents are there on the right of the picture, and in the middle there are neighbours and relations of yours in Rangoon.
And when you were a little girl in Burma, your favourite song was London Bridge is Broken Down.
Yes, those same Rangoon neighbours are your Aunt Nancy and Uncle Christopher McDowell. And to complete the family, your mother's other sister, your Aunt Gladys Harmon with her husband, your uncle, General Sir Jack Harmon, and their daughters, Lois, Grania, and Virginia. Nancy, you were neighbours in Rangoon nearly 40 years ago because your husband Christopher there also worked for the same company in Rangoon. Now, you returned to England a few years after the Drake family, and I believe Gabrielle gave you an inkling of her acting ambition.
Yes, I remember when she was about 7 years old, we were sitting all round together in her home in Warwickshire, and she recited a little poem to us and reduced us all to tears. And when I said, "Oh, darling, you did make us cry," she said, "That's exactly what I meant to do."
Never been able to do it since.
Well, when you're 7 years old, Gabrielle, your father here is offered a job as managing director of an engineering firm in Birmingham. So your family returned to live in England. You go to the Church of England College for Girls at Edgbaston, where you succeeded in getting your very first acting part as a man, Baptista in Taming of the Shrew. Age 12, you moved to Wickham Abbey School, and in your first year, you win the Elocution Prize, which fires your ambition again, and you set your sights on going to RADA. At age 18, passed the audition at the fourth attempt.
A fourth attempt,
Yes. But for 2 years after you graduate then with a bronze medal, you learn your profession the hard way in rep at Liverpool, Birmingham, Leeds and Manchester. Then in 1970 comes a television break in this popular science fiction television series in which you played Lieutenant Gay Ellis, UFO.
Oh, Commander Straker.
How do you feel?
Fine, thanks.
How about a cup of coffee?
Yes, I'd like that.
A striking hairdo, Gabrielle.
Lovely shade of purple, wasn't it?
It was very
You look like a space-age punk.
He was your commander in UFO, just nipped in from the studio next door, where he's playing Jim Davidson's boss in Home James, of course, George Sewell. George, good to see you again. That series was seen all over the world.
Oh, yes. We used to get lots of fan letters from all over the world, particularly about Gabby's hair. You see, none of the viewers ever knew why her hair was purple. And I have to tell you the truth, neither did we. But I remember in particular one letter from a fan in Tokyo. And I can quote this. He said, after asking for about photographs and autographs and all that sort of thing. I am also receptive to the reception of hair from Gabrielle Drake's head or anywhere. It is very beautiful, but why?
Thank you, George Sewell. Worldwide fame in UFO, but your passion remains the stage, and in 1970 sees you at the Theatre Royal Windsor in a production of School for Scandal in the memorable company of Michael Dennison and someone else.
And Gabrielle, you ran miles up and down the stairs to and from your dressing room. You poor darling.
Who else but the other half of that much-loved husband and wife acting team, the ever-delightful Dulcie Gray. Dulcie, darling, it sounds as though that production was rather tiring for Gabrielle.
It certainly was. We were doing School for Scandal. Gabrielle was playing Lady Teazle, a wonderful Lady Teazle. I was playing Mrs. Canda, and because I'm so much older, I had dressing room 1. And
this is not the only reason.
Gabrielle was so polite that she used to go running up and down stairs where her long mirror was in her own dressing room. So I said, perhaps she'd like to share mine, and we've become friends ever since.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you, Dulcie Gray. Television fame beckons again in 1973 in a drama series which becomes compulsive Sunday night viewing for millions, in which you played Jill. Of course, I mean the brothers.
All right, I'll take it cool.
David Hammond.
Hello, David. Oh, just working. I don't know. Why? Well, I'll find out. Felix, how long do you want me for?
You're booked till 6:30.
Yes, I know, but do you think you might...
booking's a booking, doll.
All right. 6:30. Well, what kind of party? Not, I hope, like the last one. All right, I'll take your word for it. Bye.
And here tonight, your good friends from that successful series, Julie Goodman and Jennifer Wilson. Julie, you ladies had pretty glamorous roles in that series.
Yes, but I don't think the viewers would have thought us half as so glamorous as seeing all 4 of us herring down the platform from Birmingham to London to get the 1 in the morning train with 200 football fans, sandwiches, thermos, everything else. But it was a wonderful time. We all had a great time, didn't we, Jenny?
Yes, we did, and we all loved Gabby very much, in spite of an experience I had in Sweden. A very attractive man came rushing over to me, and he said, "You are Jennifer Wilson, aren't you?" And I said, yes, I am. And he said, "Oh, good, I'm so glad. I'm so in love." And I said, "Oh, with Gabrielle Drake."
Thank you, Jennifer Wilson and Julia Goodman.
Jennifer gave me a cookery book, which has been the basis of my happy life with my husband, more or less, ever since.
Now, during a break in filming The Brothers in 1974, you made your West End musical debut in Jeeves.
And I asked you to audition because I'd seen you in The Brothers.
Flown in from New York, your good friend, theatre director Anthony Bowles. Well, Anthony, clearly you'd been impressed by Gabrielle's performance in The Brothers.
Yes, well, I think at that time there were several of us casting the show, and I'd seen her in The Brothers, and one day I insisted on everybody looking the following Sunday evening so that they could cast her correctly, and we went in on Monday morning, and they said, "Well, where was she?" And it was one of the few instalments she didn't actually appear in.
Thank you, Anthony Bowles. So, Gabrielle, away from the bright lights of the West End, you love nothing more than relaxing at your Shropshire home. And there, your closest friends in the village life from the cottage just down the road. Now, as you know, One of them hasn't been in the best of health lately, but she and her husband very much wanted to be a part of your evening, and they talk to you now from the village, Bob and Greta Nicholas. And Greta recalls your prompt action when she was taken ill on a recent night out with you and Louis.
Hello, Gabrielle. Sorry we can't be with you tonight. I do hope that you don't get any 999 calls tonight, as we did several weeks ago when we were out together. But thanks to your prompt action, I'm sitting here, fit and well.
Gabrielle, I'm just going to pop down to the Abbey now to have a good look round and feed Rastus, the old cat. And in the meantime, Gret and I thought we'd polish off this bottle of hock that you left us the other night, so we can drink your health.
Have a lovely evening.
Good health, love.
Thank you, Greta and Bob Nicholas. Well, naturally, Gabrielle, your home in Shropshire is a popular weekend visiting place for some of your closest friends in the theatre.
And the last time I was visiting you, remember I promised you a trug.
I've no idea what a trug is, but I do know that's your great friend from your days at the Bristol Old Vic, star of My Fair Lady and much more, Cheryl Kennedy. Cheryl, this is a trug.
Yes, that's right. We had a lovely weekend, Jasper and I, down in the Abbey, and I promised you that. Do you remember when we were driving to see
do, yes.
Well, you've
It's
got
lovely.
it now.
Thank you very much. Just in time,
well,
too.
2 years later.
Thank you, Cheryl Kennedy. In 1981, you begin a 2-year run on a popular television series playing the wife of a real-life American comedian who has to be in Los Angeles tonight. I mean, of course, the Kelly Monteith show.
Let's go over there, Kelly. I think this will be all right here, Kelly.
Here?
No, wait a minute. Better over there. Huh?
Stuck in Los Angeles, but not stuck for words tonight, because if you look at that screen, he recalls those shows with you from Los Angeles, Kelly Monteith.
Hello, Eamon, and hello, Gabrielle. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there to help celebrate your life. I was lucky enough to be a part of it for a couple of years. When you signed on to play my wife, I don't think you realized what you were getting into. In fact, I think it was about the second time we met. What we did, we dragged you down to High Wycombe, had the fire brigade spray you down and soak you with a hose pipe, had you running through a meadow watching me dive headfirst into a cow pie. That was the first thing you did for the show, and that was one of these subtler bits. I'm not quite sure you knew what you were getting into. But it was delightful. You're delightful to work with. And I really enjoyed the 2 years. I can only hope that you were as happy being a part of my career as I was being a part of yours. And remember that show we were going to do about babies, and they canceled at the last minute? Well, they let me keep one of the props.
Oh.
Why don't you wait? Nice to see you, Gabrielle. Congratulations.
Thank you. Kelly Monteith and Terry in Los Angeles. A last reminder, Gabrielle, of those happy childhood days when you lived with your family in Rangoon. Here's a delightful picture of you taken in your garden in Rangoon. Who's that little boy with you, I wonder?
Shane
A
Carey.
neighbor's son. I think his parents were your mother and father's closest friends in Burma 40 years ago.
We were brought up together, weren't we, Gabrielle? We even shared the same pram.
Today he lives with his family on the island of Maui in Hawaii, but to renew those memories of old Rangoon, we've flown him 7,500 miles to be here tonight. Shane Carey. Gabrielle Drake, this is your life.
that was the last in the present series of This Is Your Life. Next week, Bamber Gascoigne introduces Victorian values. Next Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. In a few moments.